Coming up on 5 Minute News. Democrats lose Senate vote to codify abortion rights into federal law. Leaders of occupied Ukrainian region seek to join Russia. And most Great Barrier Reef coral bleached by climate change. It's Thursday, May 12. I'm Anthony Davis. The US Senate fell short on Wednesday in a rushed effort toward enshrining Roe v. Wade abortion access as federal law, blocked by a Republican filibuster in a blunt display of the nation's partisan divide over the landmark court decision and the limits of legislative action. The almost party line tally promises to be just the first of several efforts in Congress to preserve the nearly 50-year-old court ruling, which declares a constitutional right to abortion services, but is at risk of being overturned this summer by a conservative Supreme Court. President Joe Biden said that Republicans have chosen to stand in the way of Americans' rights to make the most personal decisions about their own bodies, families, and lives. Relatively few Americans on either side of the debate take an absolutist view on the legality of abortion. Gallup polls show American support for abortion in all or most cases at 80% in May 2021, only slightly higher than in 1975, when it was 76%. And the Pew Research Center has found 59% of adults believe abortion should be legal. Biden urged voters to elect more abortion rights lawmakers in November and pledged in the meantime to explore other ways to secure the rights established in Roe. For now, his party's slim majority proved unable to overcome the filibuster led by Republicans. The vote was 51-49 against proceeding, with 60 votes needed to move forward. Vice President Kamala Harris could have provided a tie-breaking vote in the 50-50 split Senate, but that was irrelevant on Wednesday. One conservative Democrat, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, voted with Republicans, saying he supported keeping Roe v. Wade, but believed the current bill was too broad. The Russian-occupied region of Kherson in Ukraine plans to ask Russian President Vladimir Putin to incorporate it into Russia by the end of 2022, Russia's TASS news agency reported on Wednesday, quoting the military-civilian administration there. Kherson is the first region set to be annexed since Moscow began its military campaign in February, saying it needed to disarm Ukraine and protect its Russian speakers from fascists. That rationale has been dismissed by Ukraine and the West as a baseless pretext for an imperialist war of aggression. The Kremlin said it was up to residents living in the region to decide whether they wanted to join Russia. But Hennady Lahuta, the ousted Ukrainian governor of the Kherson region, told reporters that the population wanted only a speedy liberation and return to the bosom of their homeland, their mother, Ukraine. Kherson, home to a port city of the same name, provides part of the land link between the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia seized from Ukraine in 2014, and Russian-backed separatist areas in eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said around that time that negotiations with Moscow would be at risk if Russia used pseudo-referendums to justify an annexation of the occupied territories. In a video address last night, Zelensky condemned these marginal people who the Russian state has found to act as collaborators. He said they were making statements of cosmic stupidity. More than 90% of Great Barrier Reef coral surveyed this year was bleached in the fourth such mass event in 7 years in the world's largest coral reef ecosystem, Australian government scientists have said. Bleaching is caused by global warming, but this is the reef's first bleaching event during a La Niña weather pattern, which is associated with cooler Pacific Ocean temperatures, the Great Barrier Reef Marine Authority said in its annual report released this week that found 90% of the areas surveyed were affected. Bleaching in 2016, 2017 and 2020 damaged 2/3 of the coral in the famed reef off Australia's eastern coast. Coral bleaches as a heat stress response, and scientists hope most of the coral will recover from the current event, said David Wachenfeld, chief scientist at the authority which manages the reef ecosystem. The early indications are that the mortality won't be very high, he said. We are hoping that we see most of the coral that is bleached recover, and we will end up with an event rather more like 2020, when there was mass bleaching, but there was low mortality. Simon Bradshaw, a researcher at the Climate Council, an Australia-based group that tracks climate change, said the report demonstrated the reef's survival depended on steep global emission cuts within the decade. This is heartbreaking and deeply troubling, he said. It shows that our barrier reef really is in very serious trouble indeed. Last December, the first month of the Southern Hemisphere summer, was the hottest December the reef had experienced since 1900. A marine heat wave had set in by late February, the report said. A United Nations delegation visited the reef in March to assess whether the reef's World Heritage listing should be downgraded due to the ravages of climate change. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.